welcome back to this week's episode of Working for Rich and Famous. Hope you're all well. This week we have got another American on the show. Not had an American for a little while. We've got Carolyn on the show today, and she's all the way from LA. So really keen to talk to her about her long career. She's been doing this for nearly 20 years in the industry, working for lots of celebrities and ultra high net worths, doing sort of PA, estate management work. So I love talking to people that do this in different countries, because it's a really good comparison to how families differ between sort of London and the UK and Europe over in the States. So really keen to find out a little bit more about her and her journey, and how sort of like how COVID's affected her as well today. So I know she's got a bit of a story for us. So welcome, Carolyn. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. How's LA at the moment?
It's sunny and cool. So it's beautiful.
Of course it bloody is. London is grey and miserable. Wish I hadn't asked you.
I'm so sorry.
I don't know if it's the same over in LA, but I always envy people that live in the south of France here in Europe, because they have something like 320 days of sunshine a year or something mental.
Yeah, that's what we have. Yeah. I mean, I wake up and it gets cloudy and gray and I'm really like sad over this. But then I go, okay, well, I can handle 1 or 2 days of this, considering the rest of the time it's sunny and beautiful out. Yeah.
And so what's your winters like?
I mean, because it gets dark earlier and we will get cooler weather, and we will have gray. It just depends on if we're having a rainy winter. You know, we need the rain so bad. But if we don't have rain, then it's really just kind of sunny.
Yeah, it's probably on par with our summer.
Yes, it's just colder, that's all, you know.
Yeah.
And so it took a long time to get used to that, because I come from Chicago, and Chicago just has brutal winters. And so it's very strange to wake up on Christmas morning and have it be sunny and 80 degrees or 75 degrees, you know, and everybody else is in 10 feet of snow. So.
And how long have you been in LA for?
I've been here on and off for over 30 years.
And so that's your home now.
Yes, I just keep coming back to it because the weather's just so fabulous. So, and I have, you know, obviously I have family here and I have friends here. So, you know, I just can't find a place that's that has this great weather. So, except for the Caribbean. I did live in the Caribbean for a short time.
Yeah, that sounds lovely.
Yes.
I can imagine it's lovely there, but I can imagine other work opportunities the same there in our sector, in the Caribbean.
Oh, no, I was doing something totally different and ended up there on accident, you know, and then ended up in Paris, where I lived for over a year, and I was an au pair in Paris.
Ah, that's cool. So you've experienced how horrible the weather is for us over here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Telling me that the winter was really cold for Paris, that it was unusual. I always get the unusual times.
Yeah, it's never unusual. This is what it's like all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Okay, so you work in the private sector. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do, and then we'll sort of go back to how, you know, where it all started and how you got into it in the first place?
Sure. So I primarily work as a personal assistant / estate manager. Through the years, it's evolved. It used to just be kind of more straight on PA work. And then just from natural evolution, especially if you're in a home that needs work done, and if it's a smaller staffed house, then my work has just transferred over to estate management, which is what I really love to do.
Yeah, fair. I can imagine doing the PA work, it must all get quite samey in a way, especially the same family, because their sort of needs on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-by-month basis is probably very similar.
Yeah.
So you probably do the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, and what happens is then you get so set into that routine, and you can kind of do it in your sleep, and then you find that, like, well, this isn't very challenging, you know. And yes, I'm happy that I have the job, and I'm happy to serve and do all of these things, but at the end of the day, it's not very challenging for me. So I go, okay, yeah, I ran about 50 errands and, picked up the dry cleaning and went to the grocery store and, spent in and out of my car all day. But, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, that wasn't very fun. And people have a very misconception. I don't know how it is for you in England, but people here, they have a very misconception of what a personal assistant is.
Okay, how do you mean?
So I've had people say, oh, it must be so much fun to go shopping all day long.
What, buying food? Nah.
And I go, well, first of all, that's not what I do. And second of all, if I am doing that, no, it's not fun.
No.
I mean, it can be, when you're going to Cartier and you're picking out jewelry for your boss for a red carpet event or an award show or something, that can be fun. Or a gift that the husband wants to get. There are those moments when it can be fun, but day to day, I mean, people just sort of perceive that like, oh, I'm just in Beverly Hills all day long and just going to Tiffany and Cartier and shopping. And it's like, no, that's not what I do.
No, exactly. And so where did this all start for you? So obviously you've been doing it for a really, really long time. So take us right back to before you got into it. Did you even know anything about this world? Like, how did you even learn that this existed?
No, I didn't even know anything about this world at all. I mean, it wasn't in my surroundings. Nobody talked about it. Nobody I knew had an assistant. And so I started off in the music business, in music publishing. And I kind of went up sort of a certain ladder in the music business. And then I had always studied art. And so I studied graphic design and had left the music business at one point to do graphic design work, and then went back to the music business to further my education, because now I was making the transition from graphic design to fine art. And in the music business, I could only go to a certain level. First of all, I was very young, so that was always a mark against me. And they just weren't going to let me move up the ladder to do anything sort of interesting besides high-end executive work. And just like anything else, I found it very unchallenging. And so this sounds so funny because it's, now that I'm saying this, it sounds so LA, but I had a hairdresser who was very involved in artists. And you'd go to his salon and there would be this famous artwork all around you. And so I told him that I wanted to go work for an artist. And he had a dinner party and I met a very famous artist who said to me that, no, he didn't have anything. His girl had been with him for 7 years, and talked to me about a friend of his who had a weird name. And I was like, okay, whatever, I didn't know. And then surprisingly, like 3 weeks later, he called me up because his woman was leaving after 7 years. And so I got hired, and that's how I made the transition from the corporate world to the private sector. And
you're quite lucky, really, because he took a chance on you when you weren't a PA at this point.
Right. And because I had done the executive work, I mean, I had those skills in the sense that, I would pay all of his invoices, and I worked out of his studio, but it was a combination of studio work as well as, personal work. He was building a home, so we were involved with contractors and permits and things of that nature. He lived above the studio while he was building his home. And then eventually I started to, go to the grocery store for him, and but eventually I got him to come with me. He swore I would get better things at the deli section than he would, but I made him come with me because, like I said to him, you want apples, but you're not telling me what kind of apples. Do you want green ones? Do you want red ones? Do you want sweet ones? And he's like, okay. And the grocery store was across the street, so I was like, you come with me. So he would.
Because guaranteed, if you'd have gone on your own, you'd have got the wrong apples.
Right. Probably. Yeah. He would say, oh, I wanted green ones. I was like, you didn't tell me you wanted green ones. And because I was new at it, it didn't occur to me to ask until I was there. And this is all before we had cell phones like we do now. Yeah. So it was kind of funny. We used to joke about it all the time. And, but I just it worked with my personality a great deal, because I found that the corporate world was extremely structured and limiting. And in the private world, there's just a lot of fluid, it's just very fluid. And it's constantly changing, and you have to adapt all day long to the different circumstances. And it can be quite challenging. I mean, in the private world, you see things that you would never see in the corporate world.
Yeah.
So, and you kind of have to, there's all those lines being drawn, but nobody tells you exactly where those lines are. So you have to be really sensitive to the fact that you're in somebody's private home. And if you think about all the things that you do in your private home, and now there's a staff around you, you got to make sure you knock on certain doors before you open them in case they're getting dressed or.
Yeah, exactly. It's a funny industry, isn't it? And I think that's why a lot of people like it so much, because no 2 days are the same, no families are the same, no roles are the same. So
right.
you can never really get to the top of the game, because even if you've managed a house and you do it very well, you've done it for a long time, you go to a different house, it's a completely different job. It's a different job, it's a different family. So it's not like you become a really good accountant and then you're just a really good accountant forever. Like if you need a new challenge, just change families. And every family's got different dynamics and things. So, and obviously there are more demanding families than others. So you can be with a family that are small, they don't entertain much, they don't travel much. That it's all you can get pretty, secure in that role and figure out what you're doing. But if you want to mix it up, you just go to a high-profile international family that has loads of staff, loads of homes. God, you'll be challenged daily,
Oh, yeah. And then you're just, put on your running shoes, because that's what you do. You just run all day long, and there is no, let's sit down and have lunch, or no. And you don't, it's not it's 5 o'clock, I have to leave now. No. If something's not done, you have to stay till it gets done. And especially in my role, if I'm overseeing the staff. I mean, I've had it where, the house manager and the housekeepers, they might leave at 4 and I'm supposed to leave at 5. But then I notice like things are out of place, or they didn't finish certain things. I can't leave the home like that. So I have to make it all perfect by the time I leave. So if it takes me till 6, okay, I stay till 6. I mean, and then you're never really off. I mean, I've been fortunate where I haven't had to have my phone on throughout the middle of the night. But I always have the phone on, in the sense that people are texting, asking. Inevitably, I don't know why this happens, but the moment I leave the house, that's when some major electronic thing won't work all of a sudden. The TVs won't go on, or the speakers won't play, or something. And then I'm trying to navigate all of that through the phone. And it's quite a challenge. I've had to get in the car and drive back to the home at that point.
Help with the TV. I can imagine a lot of families, their TVs don't work. First thing they do is call you before I kind of figure out themselves when the TV doesn't work.
Oh yeah, no, they don't call anybody but me. That's just, if I can't figure it out or go back to the house and fix it, then I've got to call the, IT or the audio people. But it's just, they come to me first. So,
of course.
It requires you to be incredibly organized. And fortunately for me, I am extremely organized, and I have a memory for details. So I'm lucky in that sense, because if a question comes up, I can go, oh yeah, this is how you do this, and it's 9 o'clock at night, because by that point I don't want to get in the car and go back.
No, exactly. So your first role was with this artist years and years and years ago, and that was obviously a good experience for you, because you've stayed in the industry ever since. And we talk a lot on the podcast about the importance of that first role. So how long were you with that guy for?
I was with him for a little over 2 years.
Okay. Yeah. And then since then, obviously over the years, you've done various things with various families. But how's your role sort of changed, or what are the sort of differences in the families like over the years?
So a lot of times what's happened is that, you know, especially if it's one person as the principal or even two people, you know, they might say, oh, we need you to pay the bills and run a few errands. But inevitably, that's not really what the job becomes. You know, it becomes navigating and coordinating projects, staff. You know, a lot of times there's construction going on. I mean, I worked for a celebrity. There's 5 little homes on her huge acreage of land, and things were always being done to each of the homes, and construction crew and solar panels being put in and permits and plans, and so you take on all those things and nobody's telling you in the beginning that this is going to be part of your job. And so you have to adapt and you have to be quick on your feet, you know. And thankfully, I feel like I can adapt. I can, you know, change from talking to the accountant to talking to the personal manager to, you know, picking up the dry cleaning all in an afternoon.
And so the roles, most of the roles of yours have been based in LA, I assume.
Yes.
And have you ever been required to travel?
No, I haven't. And, you know, I mean, I know for some people that sounds really great. It's just never been something that I've wanted to do. There was a time when I was an au pair in Paris and I had to travel with them. And it's just really awkward, at least for me. And, you know, I was sharing a room with the 12-year-old. And after dinner, there was nowhere for me to go but to walk the city, like literally walk the city all night long and hope that by the time I returned, they were in bed, you know. So I've been lucky because it's just not something I've been wanting to do. If I travel, I can do it on my own.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think these roles that involve travel, this like international travel position, role, house manager, etc. Like you say, it sounds well and good because people might think, oh, I get to see the world. You don't get to see the world. You're sat in airports, you're sat in hotel rooms. The hours are long because you have no home to go to. So, you know, the hours are long. And the people that I know that do travel, they do it because they have to, but they look forward to coming home. Like my brother travels a lot with his role, and, you know, there's just no day off. Like you're at their beck and call. You're not laying on a beach drinking cocktails, you know.
Oh no, I mean, and that's the thing. People just assume that like you're taking part in their life, and it's like, no, I'm not taking part in their life. I'm making it so that they can do their life. So I'm on the clock and I'm working the whole time. Yeah, and it's just some people want to travel and do the travel, and that's great, and they're comfortable in those circumstances. I think I'm just a little too independent and private that I don't really care to like be around people that I'm supposed to be working with or in that kind of environment. You know, it's already hard enough to walk into a private home at times and just see the things that you see. You know? Maybe
it's an age thing. Maybe it's more glamorous for your 20-year-olds that
I think so. Yeah, and I'm not 20, so
me neither. Yeah.
I wasn't getting offers those roles. Now I get them. But like I remember going on an interview for a very famous celebrity, and it involved travel, but they couldn't tell me how much. And the woman I was interviewing for, she said, well, you know, I was supposed to be gone for 2 months, and we were gone for a year and a half.
Yeah, nah.
I was like, okay, I have puppies. That's not gonna work. Unless I can bring the puppies, that's not going to work. So, you know, and just that idea that like you leave for 2 months and you're literally gone for a year and a half without any knowledge. And it's not like they're going to say, oh, why don't you go back home and pack up your stuff and then come back? You know, they're not going to do that. So yeah, it's just not something that I care to do. And it's unfortunate because I've turned down positions because of that. But
I think in this industry, if you're not careful, your life can pass you by, and before you know it, you haven't done anything with your own life because you spent your entire life with the family. And I've spoken to so many people, I don't want to get personal, I'll keep personal, but I've spoken to so many people who, before they know it, they're in their 50s, they never got around to getting married, never got around to having children, never got around to it because they never had their own time. And when you're in the thick of it, you don't really notice because you're very career driven, you're working, you've got a really cool job, they're throwing money at you. So it's called the golden handcuff, isn't it? Like you end up, you can't really afford to leave these jobs because if you go to the you get paid a fraction of the money. So you end up staying and then, and it's all very great and it's all very involved. And before you know it, it's like, oh my God, like, where was my life in all of this?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the difficulty, because even if you're not being asked to be on call for 24/7, I don't know about other people, but I make myself available. So it becomes really hard to shut that down, you know. And if it is 9 o'clock and I want my own life at that point, you know, and they're texting me with issues or problems or a crisis or something, you know, okay, fine, I'm going to do it. It's part of my job, even though they haven't asked me to do it. That's just part of my nature. And, but then it can get carried over and you know, people can take advantage of that. And then you yourself wake up and go, oh my God, it's 3 years later. What have I done? Like you said, you know, your life's gone by. So it's a challenge.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's actually helpful to have puppies at home or a partner or children because it gives you a reason to leave work and want to have that separation. I think, we get requested a lot when clients call up. They'll prefer to employ someone that's single with no ties because they know that person will be able to commit more of them to the role, which I kind of get, and it's value for money, isn't it? Because they're getting more of that person. But that person who is single and in their mid-30s and making these kind of commitments are doing it, sacrificing their own life really to take these roles. So it's a funny one, isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, even though I'm not in my 30s, I still have that habit. You know, I had a couple who I used to live about an hour away from their home. Going there, it would take me maybe 45 minutes. Going home, it could take me anywhere from an hour to 3 hours to get home. Just ludicrous. That's not the fun part about being in LA.
No.
And they were an elderly couple and they didn't bother their children. Like they didn't want to ever call on their children, their adult children. And so they made an offer to me to pay my rent to move closer to them. And so I did. And I wanted to anyway for a variety of different reasons. It just happened sooner because they paid part of the rent to do that. And I think that just gave them peace of mind because then I could drive over there at 9 o'clock at night or Saturday afternoon or, you know, if they were out of town and the alarm went off, I was the one that was being called from the security company, you know, and this way they didn't bother their children and I could just take part in all of it. And because I'm not at home with 6 kids attached to my hips, it made it easier.
Yeah. And that's a testament to you, really, because they could have easily just found someone that lives more locally. So it's a testament to you for them to make that, you know, investment in you, really, to enable you to get to work more. So that's great. Have any of your roles lived in, or have you always avoided the live-in positions?
No, I've avoided the live-in. I mean, most often I'm not asked. It's usually housekeepers or nannies that are asked to live in.
Yeah.
Occasionally there might be somebody who maybe wants the sort of personal assistant companion kind of person. And so they might ask for live-in, but I don't want to do that.
No. I know I have a mixed bag
for that kind of stuff. I'm just, you know, I live alone. I have my puppies and I'm just sort of set in my way. I just would not be comfortable in that situation.
Again, I just think that suits somebody who's at the very beginning of their career that just sees it as a way to save rent and they can save a bit of money, not have to pay for travel to work. So it does suit certain people, but I just think when you get past a certain age, and it's not even an old age, it's probably like mid to late 20s when you want to be dating and socializing and all the rest. At that point, again, it goes back to the whole having that your life and their life, you know, split. I think that's important. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if they offered me a house on the property, then I would consider that, but to like be in their house, no.
Yeah.
You know, when I was an au pair in Paris, I was fortunate enough to live, well, downstairs. I had like my own little apartment in the house, and they had redone it, and it was really nice and pretty and everything. So that was great, and they were very conscious of leaving me alone when I was off the clock and stuff. But the reality is I was still in their home, and I was always aware of that, you know.
Yeah, fair. Let's bring us up to current day then. So you've had a great career. I assume you've loved working in the private sector. What is it that you've loved so much about it? What's kept you in it for this time?
Well, I certainly love the challenges that come up as my role has increased, being more of an estate manager. And I love the variety. I'm just not a person who wants to go in and push the same button every day, all day long, you know? And so I love the fact that each day it's different. I can work by myself. I don't have somebody sort of standing over me, because they know I'm going to get the job done. And so I just go in and I do my work, and they leave me alone. And and yet I'm a part of their home. I'm not a part of their family, even though I've worked for some really nice people that want to include me in family things. I'm always aware of the fact that I'm not a part of the family, you know. And there's just a sort of sense of freedom, and it's just there's a looseness. There's not, you know, it's not so stuffy. In the corporate world, I find like you've got to dress a certain way, and you have to sit in your cubicle all day long, and you have to take the 15-minute break when they tell you it's time to take the 15-minute break. You know, in my day, I just go about doing the day. I might eat lunch, I might not eat lunch, I might sit down, I might not sit down, you know, it just varies. And then a lot of the homes that I've been in, there's dogs, and so I've always taken care of the dogs. I've had the dogs come into my home and stay with me while they were traveling. And so that's always been an added bonus, just to have fun with the puppy or, you know, the animals there. So I've always liked that. And yeah, it just kind of, you know, I have this, I'm an artist, but I'm also a personal assistant. So it kind of works in my left brain, right brain kind of situation. I'm very organized, and I have sort of a photographic memory. And so I can just go in and get the work done, and it's logical and systematic and everything. And then I can come home and play in my studio as an artist. So
yeah, nice.
Balances.
Are you responsible for staff in the home?
Pardon?
Are you responsible for other staff in the home?
Yeah, I've been in homes where I've been you know, just overseeing the staff. I mean, usually, you know, for me, if I walk into a home and the housekeeper's been there for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it's really her house.
Yeah.
And I just know that off the bat. And so, you know, I used to work in a home where, just for my own neuroses kind of a thing, to take a mental break from the office work, I would go into the kitchen and I would reorganize the refrigerator. And the minute I did it, the main housekeeper would change it all right back.
There's no point fighting it. There's no point going up against it. Like,
no. It was her home, so it was like, okay, fine, you know. But yeah, I have overseen the staff. I've been lucky enough to where, you know, usually you're getting people that, like yourself, have been in this career for a long time, and they know the role. And it's certainly, if you're coming in after them, then they can support you and help you, and, you know, oh, where does the cleaning rags go? And, you know, where does this teacup go? And things of that nature. And I'm a huge believer of everybody's treated on the same level. If you're the rock star or the housekeeper, it makes no difference to me. I know it makes a difference to other people, but I don't look at it that way at all. So everybody's treated the same way, with kindness and respect. And as a staff, we are part of a team, and we are there to serve the principals. And so my belief is, you know, egos and drama gets checked in at the door. And
So
that's how
true.
yeah.
Yeah, so true. And I feel like the people that do well in this industry recognize that and do that also. And the people that don't do, like, God, we've got catalysts on our book and on our books, and they just have chips on their shoulders. And it's like, I don't know if you understand that phrase, but they've got this like ego, and it's like, mate, like, have that attitude. If you've got attitude with me, I dread to think what attitude you have in a home, and no wonder you're struggling to stick roles out, because I don't
Right.
even like talking to you. And you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I've had that situation where I had a house manager and he just was defiant against me and the housekeeper. And I'm like, this is your role. Your role is to be with us and work with us and support us, and we'll support you. And he was just adamant and defiant. And he lasted 2 months and that was it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get it. And it's like, your job will be easier if we all get on. So why are you making it difficult for us all to get on? Like, this can't be fun for you, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Who wants to go to work with a chip on your shoulder every day, or be around people who are like that every day?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And when you find that you're working with other people on the same caliber as you are, oh my gosh, it's just heaven.
Yeah, it's just easy.
It's easy and it's pleasant, and everybody knows their role, and then they support each other. And I don't look at anything like, oh, that's not my job. Of course I'll take out the garbage, of course I'll empty the dishwasher. Is that part of my role? No, but I'm not going to leave it there, and I'm going to help people out, just like they help me. If I'm bringing in 30 bags of groceries, somebody usually will help me do that. So I appreciate that, because we all have our own roles in the house, but we're there to support each other, because at the end of the day, everything we're doing is for the principals, and we are there to make their lives easier. They are not there to make our lives easier.
No, that wouldn't work.
Not at all.
So bring us up to current day then. Obviously, as I said before, you've been doing this a really long time. You had a really great career. You've worked with some fantastic people over the years, and your roles evolved. 2020 hits, this pandemic, which is just boring now. And we had a pre-chat for this call, and bored to death of this, but it's had a massive impact on you. And I think it's worth talking about, because it's hit our industry hard in different ways. And some people have been fortunate enough to continue their work, ride it out, great. But a lot of people have been really affected by it and are really struggling to find work, etc. What's the year been like for you?
Well, when it first hit, and I was so grateful for this, is, I was working part-time with a family that I've been with for 4.5 years. And I was full-time and part-time and full-time and part-time, because their roles, their needs would change. So at this point, I was part-time. And when we were first on lockdown, nobody was going anywhere. So she just kept the staff on, which was so gracious and kind of all of them to do that. And then slowly, very slowly, it was like, okay, you can come to the porch and pick up the mail. Or I'll send you an email for some calls to make. Or I'll leave boxes for you to return, but it was just very, very slow. And I don't think I went into the house like full time till like June. But then eventually what happened is they have very compromised immune systems, both of them, the husband and wife. And I was working outside in the patio, and it just became difficult to do my job, not being allowed to be in the house. And because they were home, they wanted to talk to the AC person, or they wanted to meet with the plumber. They didn't want me to come into the house. So I had to make sure like nobody was downstairs when I ran into the house to use the bathroom. So we just kind of mutually agreed that it wasn't working. And so I departed that position after 4.5 years.
And then how have you found the market since? Did you think at the time you'd be able to walk into something else quite easily, or?
No, I had a feeling it wouldn't be at all, especially because it was late August. And I mean, even in general, our field works in cycles. People are traveling and stuff. So like come mid-November, it'll shut down till the end of January.
Yeah.
And then it'll pick up slowly. But then once end of May comes, it shuts down again because people are traveling. Yeah. And so, no, I didn't think it would be easy. And I have a group of recruiters because I've always looked for a full-time job because my puppies don't know how to make a living, even though I ask them to every day. So it's up to me. And so, but I just knew it wouldn't be easy. And so right now, fortunately, I have a few tiny home-based clients that I'm working for, but it's tiny. So
yeah.
So
for you, the sooner things, well, we can't even say normal anymore, but the sooner things start to settle, the better for you, because you're now looking for that full-time role.
Yeah, I'm looking for a permanent, long-term, stable, full-time role, because I like to plant myself and get ingrained and figure it all out and do the job. And I just need that too for my life. It's just, I'm not in my 20s, so I don't care to be switching jobs every year. It's just not.
Well, exactly. Exactly. You've got great longevity in your career. Your roles are long stints. You're not one to flit here and there. This isn't you. So I can imagine having committed to families for long periods of time. When you're in this limbo period, it's just unsettling, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's hard anyway, because you just never know. I mean, even though in the corporate world, you never know either, but I think in the corporate world, there's more flexibility that if it's not the right fit, you can kind of mold yourself to make it the right fit. When you're in the private sector, if it's not the right fit, you kind of are aware of that quickly and it becomes horrible. And so either it's a mutual agreement or you come to the place where, it's not going to work. But to get to that point takes a long time. I mean, there's been times when I've had to go on 6 or 7 interviews to even get a job, and with the same family, so you have to meet the business manager, and you have to meet the agent, and you have to meet the publicist, and then you have to meet the former assistant, and then you get to meet the principals, and then you get asked back for a third interview, and then you get hired. And it's like, by this point, it's 3 months in, So, it's been very difficult. And I know that my recruiters say, oh, it's picking up a little bit. And I get that. But I also know by mid-November, it's going to shut down again.
And also, if there's anything like here, even if we have months when things pick up, the market is flooded of candidates. We have so many, before we were probably getting about 1,000 CVs a week to our agency. Now we're easily getting 2,000 CVs a week to our agency. And it's just and then, people are getting frustrated. I keep seeing posts on LinkedIn from various people that are frustrated, recruiters are not putting their weight, they're not getting back to people. And it's like, we are also struggling because we don't have any roles or many roles. And how the hell, if we spent our entire day getting back to 2,000 applicants, half of which are highly unsuitable Indian candidates, we won't get the bloody work done. We're spending, surely our time is better spent going out and talking to our clients and picking up vacancies than responding to. So I can see why people are really frustrated at the moment, but it's just pointless directing your frustration at recruiters, because we are also really frustrated and worried and all the rest.
I mean, I'm always grateful if and when my recruiters respond back to me. I had one of my long-term recruiters respond back to me last week, and she actually was so kind and took the time to write, going back and forth 3 emails, because they sent me this form email and I was really upset over it. And I was like, I've been with you for years. With this form, well, it turned out they had somebody new. She didn't realize that I had been with them for so long time. She was hitting send to all the applicants, and it was like, but my recruiter, who's the owner of the company, took the time to write me and have a conversation with me about it. And I told her, I said, I'm so grateful and appreciative that you took the time out, because I know how busy you are. Because to get the candidates, But it is I don't know how it is for you in England. Here in LA, I think, especially when I started, there wasn't any agencies. It was literally word of mouth. Who do you know? That first job came through my hairdresser. My second job came through another hairdresser. She did the mother of a famous celebrity. And so I said, hey, I'm looking, and I got the job, you know. Now there's tons of agencies.
Yeah.
And now everybody goes, oh, I want to be a personal assistant. Because again, people have this misconception of what I do. And then you get the clients who they themselves don't know what they want.
Yeah.
Because they're new to this experience. They don't understand what the role is. So they don't know exactly what they want. And either they want anything and everything, and the, you know, the description of the job is 3 pages long, or they make 2 sentences and then they go off and they end up not hiring anybody, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, we get, I like it when clients are very specific and have pages of what they want, because what I hate is we get clients saying, just send me someone nice. Send me someone that you know I'll like. And it's like, right, brilliant, great. Right. What I also hate is when clients are very clear on what they want, brilliant. We work our asses off to find that. And then all of a sudden they change their mind completely on what they want. And it's like, great. So we look like an idiot to our candidates because it's like, they're not what they want anymore. And so we try and obviously manage that and stop that happening. But it happens all the time. Oh,
I know. And it's frustrating for you as the recruiter, and it's really frustrating for us as the candidate, you know. And recently I had somebody say, oh, they want somebody who doesn't have your experience. They want somebody who is new to this, who's only done it for a year so they could mold the person. I'm like, okay, now I'm overqualified. And then we get literally the next week, the same thing happened where they wanted somebody who was only a personal assistant and not a state manager too. I said, well, that doesn't make sense. They're getting more for the money if they get somebody like me. And I know, and you know as the recruiter, the job's going to fall into the estate management position in time. It just does.
Yeah.
Unless they have a staff of 6 or 7, it's going to fall into that role. So overqualified is probably the most common reason we get. They're overqualified, and it's like, oh, boring. Or we don't hear back at all. You'll send 10 amazing CVs and you'll just not hear anything back. And it's like, just give us something. And it's like, so then obviously I can see why candidates get frustrated, but it's often because clients don't come back to us at all, you know. And then what they'll do is they'll work with lots of agents and get lots of CVs, lots of agents. And when they see the one, which is stupid, how can you pick from a piece of paper? You should be speaking to your recruiter, and the recruiter should be telling you, I've met somebody that you are going to want to interview. You don't need a CV, I'm telling you. Anyway, and then they will go with that one CV and then not even that, and ignore all the rest, discount all the rest. So it's this is why I don't understand why clients have multiple recruiters. Why don't you just have one recruiter that you trust and have a relationship? And if a client, we do have clients like this, and the client will say to me, we're looking for another housekeeper, I've got time to interview next Wednesday. We will line people up for interview next Wednesday. We don't need this whole CV back and forth business, because I know what they want, I know who they want to meet. Done. And they will then meet the people. Why this day and age where we get clients that will send the same email to 10 agencies, and all the 10 agencies will probably send the same CVs anyway, you know, so we'll have the same candidates in our books pretty much. And it's just making their lives harder. You're creating work for yourself, having multiple recruiters, because you've got then 10 recruiters hounding you for feedback and bothering you. Just have one recruiter that you like and get the job done quick. Don't get it. And because I have multiple recruiters, I've seen the same job posted
with
recruiter. So, you know, but as a candidate, I'm hoping, you know, like if somebody even says, oh, she's overqualified, I would hope the recruiter would say, no, you really want to meet with her.
Yeah.
Because you can mold her, but she also knows her stuff. So like, you know, so it's that kind of push and pull too, because I tell the recruiters, listen, I don't want to bother you, but I also want to check in and remind you that I'm still here.
Definitely. You know what, for the candidates, for the recruiters, for the agencies you've been with for a while and got a good relationship with, definitely. And our candidates, you know, the candidates are like our candidates on our books. Oh, we've got fantastic relationships with. We meet them, we see them, we talk all the time. And even, you know, we do have a policy where we get back to every single person, but it is annoying when you get CVs from people with 0 experience, and then they get frustrated because I haven't got them a job. And it's like, be serious about this. You know, you're a vet. What do you want me to do? Like, or whatever, you know. So
and I was fortunate to start when there were no agencies and it was word of mouth, and I live in a place where the whole city's run by word of mouth, and it's all about who you know. So I was fortunate enough to start on that level. And I remember when I went to my very first agency, and I had already been doing it for, you know, what, over 10 years at that point. And it was just fun. And I'm still with them. You know, after all these years, I'm still with them. And,
right.
you know, yeah, so it's just sort of funny. And then, but, you know, I think that because there's so many agencies now, it's a very small world that we live in. Because even in a place like LA where everybody has a personal assistant, I mean, listen, I want 5 of me every day. You know, I'd love 5 of me.
Yeah.
So, you know, but you have to be aware of the fact that everybody knows everybody. And all the agencies know one another. And, you know, and that's why it amazes me, like when I encountered the houseman that I did who came in with an attitude, it's like, how are you in this business? You wouldn't survive in, you know, 2 weeks anywhere. And, you know, and then, but they've been working. It's like, oh my gosh.
Honestly, I could publish a little black book of people not to touch. And the thing is as well, these candidates are stupid because they, like, we all know, like, I speak to other agents, and if I see another, I don't know, say for example, I see a competing agent post a role on LinkedIn, and I see this idiot comment saying I'm going to apply, I'll speak to that agent, say, just to let you know, he's an idiot. And so, like, we all talk and we all share. And when I see people still getting, especially people that are those people that quit all the time and just get different jobs, we're like, how are you still getting employed? Because surely you're getting referenced. And who's placing you? Like, this is ridiculous. Yeah, I'm always blows my mind when bad candidates are still getting placed.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Well, it was interesting. Like for me with this houseman position, the principals didn't have me involved in the interview. Because had they had me be involved in the interview, I would have told them right off the bat that no.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
This was a new role that they were creating. And I would have told them right off the bat, no, this didn't work. And in fact, within 2 weeks, I went to them and said, I don't think this is going to work. And they were about to travel. So they were like, oh, give it time. And then when they were gone, oh my God, the attitude really came out. And so, you know, they got back at 10 o'clock and 10:01. I was like, oh no, we have to let him go because
it's never going to work.
He's causing major chaos. You know, and then you also think about the things that somebody's going to do that maybe you aren't always, you know, like steal things or break things or say things they shouldn't say out in public, you know. And so it's like, you know, so I went to the principals. I said, oh no, it's time. I've done what you've asked, and I'm telling you right now, we have to let him go, you know. And then the minute he left, it was like, oh, the air just changed. You know? So it's very strange because, like you said, how are these people still working in this business? Yeah. I mean, I had a client once who she found me on LinkedIn. She reached out to me. She went through all this process to try and find me, to reach out to me. I met with her. After the meeting, she sent me over all of her Social Security number and her credit card information and her driver's license. I worked for her and her husband for over 2 years. I only met her that one time.
Wow.
And I only spoke to her on the phone twice. Otherwise, it was all email. And a friend of mine said, within minutes, she's giving you all this personal information? And I said, well, I couldn't do my job and be in my job for over 20 years if I was a dishonest person. You know, if I stole or used their credit cards or whatever.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Business. So I mean, that was a little quick even for me, but she trusted me, and I was grateful for that because obviously it made my job easier. And then, you know, I worked for them for 2 years until their life changed. And she would say, how do you do this? How do you keep track of everything? And I, you know, because she would call me and go, what's my dentist's name? And where is he? And I would tell her within seconds. And she's like, how do you do this? And I said, well, it's just my forte, you know, and you have things I can't do. So
of course.
That's the thing. It's a small environment. So if you're doing things that aren't proper,
Mm.
You would think that those people wouldn't be in this business very long, and some of them slip through those cracks and are, and you're like, oh my gosh, who are you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
blows my mind. Right,
Yeah.
about 20 minutes ago, I looked at the clock, I thought, right, we need to wrap this up. And now we're 20 minutes later, and I'm thinking, oh my God, we really need to wrap this up. Say this every time. Right, so let's all move on. So as we sort of do towards the end of each podcast, I always love hearing about anything a bit mental that you've experienced at work, or funny or bizarre. And then we'll move into quick fire questions, then we'll let you get on with your day. So anything unusual happen or bizarre happen to you at work?
Well, you know, having an NDA, there's a lot I can't say, and nor would I. But I recently, you know, sometimes the clients, sometimes the people I work for give me signatory rights on their checking accounts. Sometimes they don't. It just depends on what they want to do. And I did not have signatory rights on their account, and the husband sent me an email requesting a large sum of money to be written for a piece of art. So I thought nothing of it. And because I had to get the wife to sign the check, when she saw the check, she was like, what is this? And of course, I'm not a part of their marriage, so I just figured she knew. And I said, well, it looks like he's buying a piece of art. Well, long story short, it turned out to be a complete and total scam. And I ended up having to file an FBI report. And thank God I didn't send the check, because the email looked like it came from him.
It wasn't.
The language was just like he would write it to me. I don't know how they got into his email address or my email address. And I mean, but boy, the you know, the files being thrown up in the air for the next 3-4 hours was just crazy. Calls.
You know what? That is so scary that this still happens. And I've heard of this before. It's happened to someone I know, and exactly the same thing. Hackers monitored their emails to pick up the language used, and emails were sent from the boss to a member of staff, again asking to pay the money. And money was paid on multiple occasions until she realised it wasn't the boss. And it's like, this is crazy. Like, I've had it happen to me. I've had, without going into too much detail, a large invoice that I sent on email. I normally send all my invoices via QuickBooks and accounting software. I sent a large email, an invoice on an email, because I was chasing up payment, and I was like, this hasn't been paid. Hackers picked it up, fudged the bank details, and then delivered it to my client from me, and my client paid a massive invoice to a fraudulent bank account, and I never got the money, and I couldn't get the client to repay, because their argument, quite rightly so, was it was my emails that got hacked. They paid the money fair and square. But how scary is this? Like, hackers must make so much money, because,
oh my gosh,
you know,
you know, they must be like, you know, having a great time in Bora Bora. So, I mean, it's just amazing. And, you know, and that's the thing, you realize, like, okay, even though they're celebrities, and yes, they get, you know, things get to them differently, they're just like us too, you know?
Yeah.
So we got hacked, you know, and she's the celebrity, not the husband. So I'm sure they didn't even know that the two of them were married, and she was the celebrity. But thank God. Oh, it's so scary, because like you said, it can happen to us. It's happened to me before too, just in my personal life. So you kind of realize, like, oh yeah, they're just like you and I.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, because sometimes you think, oh, like, I feel sorry for the old people that get these scam phone calls and they end up getting conned and paid. But, like, I'd like to think that I'm kind of switched on, and our systems are pretty secure. Yeah, I was a victim, and I lost loads of money. And it's, like, how do people sleep at night?
It's 89, and he'll come to me and go, oh, I heard about this. And I go, no, it's a scam. Don't worry about it. No. Or he'll bring something to me and I go, yeah, this is nothing you need to worry about. And I kind of just watch out for him, because I mean,
and then when I reported my one, I didn't have any cyber security insurance, because I didn't really think that I needed cyber security insurance. And no one did anything. So I filed a report with the police. I didn't even hear back from the police. I didn't hear one thing. and the banks weren't interested. So not one thing was done. So like, they're safe, aren't they? They're pretty protected, these hackers. It's probably like an 11-year-old, like sat in a room somewhere.
I'm sure it is. You know, a bunch of 50-year-olds sitting around, you know, with their little Xbox games, you know, doing this stuff. I know. And it's really scary. And you just think there is no protection. And like I said, it would have been nothing for me to have sent out that check, because the way that email was written sounded exactly like him.
Yeah.
Wasn't anything out of the ordinary. So it just so happened that this house, I don't have signatory rights, and I had to ask her to sign the check. And when she looked at it, she was like, "What is this?" And you know, that becomes that moment in your role where you have to walk that fine line, because I don't know what goes on in their marriage. So I said, well,
could have been a gift.
Right. And I said, well, I thought maybe you knew your husband's buying a piece of artwork. She was like, "What artwork?" You know?
Yeah.
And we found out that the actual piece of work that they wanted was in Cleveland Museum.
Oh, God. Thank God that they asked for a check and not a bank transfer, because it may have been the process that you could have just done. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Oh, if it had been a wire or something, then you're just massively messed up. I mean, it's just so scary, because you just realize, they're just like us. They can be taken advantage of. And like I said, he's not the celebrity, she is. So I'm sure they didn't even realize that it was a celebrity household that they were involving themselves in, these hackers. But like you said, probably a bunch of 15-year-olds making more money than all of us.
And there's been in celebrities. Right then, let's move on then. So just to wrap up then, I've just got a few quick fire questions, super quick, super easy, and I'll let you sort of crack on with your day. So, have you only ever worked with American families?
No.
Okay.
I was an au pair in France, so that was a French family. Yeah, but here, no, I've had people who come from England as well.
Okay, so you've had some Brits to work with as well. Yeah. Has there been much of a sort of noticeable difference between working for celebrities who were quite well known and the unknown ultra high net worth, or are they all just the same type of client to you?
I mean, they're the same kind of client to me, but their world is very different. And so in the celebrity world, there's just other things that happen, you know. I mean, being followed around because your boss is in the nail salon and the paparazzi are following her, and you have to switch cars with her so she can drive your car and you can drive her car. They can follow you, not her. You know, it's like that doesn't happen in an ultra high net worth household. Or, you know, you're going to Beverly Hills and you're picking up 20 dresses that weigh, you know, 5,000 pounds because she's getting ready for the red carpet, and you're the one who has to bring all the dresses to her, you know, stuff like that. And so there's just different work on that level. They get a lot more perks, a lot more stuff comes through the household for them. You know, the swag bags and all of those things. So it is different on that level, but at the end of the day, I'm serving them. And so if you're a high net worth person or a couple or a celebrity, it's the same for me. It's just there's different work involved a little bit. Yeah.
Do you have a preference on whether you're working in the spotlight or not?
I'd rather work outside of the spotlight. Yeah. It just because all of that level of the spotlight just brings a whole level of privacy and anxiety to all of the whole thing. I mean, I had a celebrity once where her mother couldn't even come to the house.
Wow.
So if her mother wanted to surprise her and she would come to the gate, I'd have to deny her mother.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was horrible. You know, it was like,
why is that? Just because she was too famous?
I think it's because she didn't get along with her mother and didn't want her mother just coming on over. But it was just, it made it so awkward because, you know, the mother would ring the house and I'd answer the gate phone and I'd have to like basically fib and say, yeah, she's not here. Because she couldn't see whether or not her daughter was on the property. And so I'd have to say, yeah, no, she's not here. And it was horrible, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas in a non-celebrity home, that just never happens.
Mm. Have you got a preference when to work in a larger house with a much bigger team or a house with a much smaller team? Do you have a preference on where to work?
I mean, not necessarily. The bigger house, there's usually so much more involved, and there's like high-end projects. The bigger houses, you definitely have to have a good pair of running shoes. Like you can't get dressed up because they're, you know, you're running on all these different, you know, on the grass and the marble and the concrete, and you're just running all day long because it takes you a long time to get to the third story in an 18,000 square foot house versus a 5,000 square foot house. So I don't have a preference. I like it if the staff is under 6 people because I think that it just is easier to navigate, especially with the personalities. But I'm also very clear up front with people, and I treat people with kindness and respect, and I tell them this is how it's going to be, and everybody check their egos and, you know, drama at the door, because we don't have time for that.
Yeah, and I think managing expectations is just the best way forward. Like, as long as people know what page you're on and what page they're on from day one, then they know what to expect. You know, they're not have to tread on eggshells.
We can have fun. We can have a good time. We can chit chat. We can, you know, do all of those things. But we're there to work. And I personally, if I'm overseeing them, I don't have time or the wherewithal to want to deal with the drama. You know.
No.
It doesn't make it pleasant.
No, exactly. Do you prefer working with families who have children or without children?
Kids are always fun. You know.
Okay.
I worked with one family where the son was 13, the daughter was 18. I still talk to the two of them. Now they're grown adults. It's very bizarre for me, you know, because like the son was this high and now he's, you know, way above me. And, you know, we would chit chat about all of his friends, some of which he's still friends with. The house I was just at, she had young teenage girls. And so they had a lot of friends. And so it was just fun to be around all the friends, and they loved me and I loved them. And they would be like, oh, Carolyn, tell us stories, you know, and we would just have a good time together. So I like that. That's really fun for me. If they don't have kids, that's fine too. It just adds a certain level. It's just like having a pet. If they have dogs, it adds more cuddliness to the job. There is no animals, you know.
Yeah, there's an extra dimension, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you find is the biggest challenge for you day to day in your role? What's your sort of biggest obstacle or frustration maybe?
Sometimes it can be the level of communication, the access, you know, because I'm trying to do their life for them, and I need to have access to them at some point, not 7, but if it's something going on and I pose a question and I need to know the answer sooner rather than later is helpful, you know. And I remember I worked for a celebrity and she didn't understand that. So she made my job extremely difficult.
By not talking to you?
Well, yeah, just not, you know, assisting me in that. I mean, one time she wasn't here. She was on the East Coast, and she had this little running creek on her property, and we had massive rains, and the creek overflooded and broke the pipes. And she had this little garage separate house where all of her high-end Hollywood costumes had been stored, and it was about to be flooded. And I couldn't make the decision of what the contractors needed to do without conversing with her. And she wouldn't answer the phone. So I did what I knew was going to upset her. And I called the boyfriend, and I knew he was sitting right next to the boyfriend. And I asked where she was, and he said, oh, she's not here. And I told him the problem. And we hung up the phone, and 30 seconds later, she called me. Because she wouldn't let me make the decision. And so I couldn't decide for her. Made that clear. So, you know, it was that kind of a thing. So, you know, it was like, okay, well, your $1 million wardrobe's going to get flooded if you don't pick up the phone. So that was really challenging for me. She made it very, very difficult for me to do my job. And she just didn't understand that. but most of the time people are really decent. They just let me do my work because they know that I'm going to get it done. And then I limit the amount of time I need from them. You know, I'll stack up the questions and put it in an email, or I'll let them know ahead of time I need 10 minutes with them, you know, in the next day or two, you know, that kind of a thing. And usually people are pretty good about that because they understand that I'm there to help them.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then finally then, so what does the future hold for you then? Is this a sector that you can see yourself working in until retirement?
Unless I'm going to retire tomorrow, yes.
Yeah, I wish. I can't wait to retire.
Unless my dogs get a job or I win the lottery, yes. Yeah, because I've been doing it for so long and it just suits my personality and it works for the way that I work. And so, and, you know, and I can go to work and I can use my left brain and be methodical and organized and do all of these things, and then I can go home and be the painter that I am. So it just works for me in that level. And I enjoy it. I really do. I like being a part of projects. I like seeing the completion of things. And it just, there's something gratifying knowing that, look, it's not rocket scientist, right? I'm not changing the world, but I am helping people live their lives. And making their lives easier. And there's something so great when somebody comes to you and says, thank you so much for doing that. That just makes my life easier. And you know, it's just gratifying. I never heard those words in the corporate world. I never, ever heard those words. So, you know, it's just gratifying.
Oh, that's so lovely. And I think a lot of what I've sort of taken away since doing these podcasts is the people that are super passionate about the industry and love what they do, they find it so rewarding. They take so much from it. It's worth every ounce of energy they put into it. They get so much back from it. And it's lovely. And it obviously what keeps us going. And we feel it our end as well. And it's so lovely.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, and especially, you know, I'm going to give 110%. And I'm just asking you to be kind to me, kind of. But when you go that extra step, I mean, when I walk in the house and I see a little handwritten note from one of the daughters, you know, thanking me for her little gift or thanking me for being a part of her special day or whatever. I mean,
lovely.
Yeah, it's so lovely. It's so heartwarming. And, you know, and I'm very lucky that way. You know, it's a very gratifying way of being. Like I said, in the corporate world, I don't even think I ever got a thank you.
I know. Well, on that note, what a nice high to finish the podcast on. It's been absolutely lovely talking to you all the way over in LA. So thanks so much for taking the time and giving us just a bit of a glimpse into your world, really. And, you know, letting us in and, you know, telling us your story. It's been really, really interesting. Thanks for a wrap for everybody listening. Thanks so much for tuning in once again. I really do appreciate everybody listening to these podcasts every week. Please do come subscribe and rate and review, etc. If you want to be a guest, please do drop me an email at philippa@silverswanrecruitment.com. And obviously, if we can help you with your job search or help you with your recruitment, please visit our agency at Silver Swan Recruitment. I'll see you all next week. Cheers.